Here we are. Time to talk Nebraska football here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, every Thursday night at 6 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock there at Memorial Stadium. Central Time, of course, is our time and date. So lock it on in on a Thursday night each and every week. We got Greg Peterson on the line. You can join him on Husker Online, the Rivals platform for Nebraska athletics. And we want to remind everyone that this show is possible and brought to you by the fine folks and the Husker fans there at Phone Genie. Go to ToleyBrothersLLC.com. You see the website there on the banner, ToleyBrothersLLC.com. It's Phone Genie, and this is surely a topic that is unfortunately something that we all are dealing with right now. These people at Phone Genie, what they do is they provide germ mitigation products. Just check it out. Go there and for home, for workplace, germ mitigation projects and products there for your home and business use. All right, Greg, how you doing tonight?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm good. So I just mentioned to you that I just jumped online a couple minutes before we came on live, and I see that the big news surrounding the Nebraska football program isn't necessarily anything that's big news to the people that follow the Huskers on a daily basis, because this was already in the works, already announced and so forth. But in regards to letting everyone know that it's still a project ongoing and going to come to fruition is this football facility that's quite impressive. Can you fill us in on that?
Yeah. Last year Nebraska had announced their plans to move forward with a brand new, athletic complex to house the football team and a lot of the other sports as well. It's from the video mock-up that they showed us last year, really, really beautiful looking facility. Kind of taking over the outdoor practice fields that Nebraska uses right now. And there's also the outdoor track there, which that will be moved. And everything's connected to Memorial Stadium. There'll be a whole new locker rooms and, the whole 9 yards, even the media. We get our own media room that's dedicated to us, and separate interview areas and stuff like that. So it's all going to be state of the art, and things have been on hold with the COVID situation, and they announced that they're still planning on moving forward with this, just that there's been some delays. So once that finally gets done, who knows, in 2024, whatever the schedule is right now, I'm not sure at this point. But, hopefully some of these guys are still around to enjoy that. When they announced that last year, they had Wan'Dale Robinson come up and talk about that, and he hadn't even played a game here yet when he was basically the player's spokesperson for it. So that kind of shows you the kind of trust and the kind of character that a freshman like Wan'Dale Robinson had in his first semester being on campus. So, yeah, overall, that facility is going to be, top-notch, top in the country. And, Nebraska has always been known for having great facilities, but truth is that those facilities are ancient in today's game. So, to be able to recruit with the big boys, you got to be able to spend that money and have all those bells and whistles that you see teams like Alabama and LSU, have at their disposal. So, yeah, it'll eventually get here, and it'll make Nebraska even that much more of a desirable place, for college athletes to come and enjoy their college experience.
Yeah, I think most of us, if we love college football and take in a lot of content, at some point have seen some type of documentary, whether it be on the Big Ten Network or ESPN, going through one of these facilities, whether it be at Oregon, Alabama, wherever. And you just wonder where this is going to stop, where this is going to lead to, because once you get to a 10 or 15-year old facility at this point, just to keep up with the arms race, it's going to need some type of an upgrade. But it's astonishing what kind of money is going into these facilities. At the same time, one part of me thinks that the players are spoiled because of it, but on the other hand, they're producing the revenue that is making it all possible. So there's no question about that.
Yeah, in Nebraska a few years back did the same thing with basketball, and opened up a brand new basketball facility that for practice wise, and it was when they did that was the top notch in the country. You had schools like Kansas coming here and critiquing it and taking ideas back for doing their setup like that. So yeah, the money just people love their sports. They're loyal to their school, and those boosters. Thank God for those boosters. They keep a lot of these programs afloat.
Thank God for sponsors as well. So we had somebody approach us a couple months ago that wanted a Nebraska show, and they made it happen in regards to getting us a sponsor here with Phone Genie. So you can do the same, whether you want to sponsor a different show and find a sponsor for us. Get me on the path of finding someone. In this case, again, this individual just went out and found it, got it all lined up for me. I didn't have to lift a finger, but they delivered and said, Mark, we want you to do a Nebraska show. So here it is. So you can do the same with your favorite team, or keep this ongoing, because this agreement with Phone Genie is going to run out here pretty soon. But if you want to see Nebraska football live here continue, then let us know. And also your individual contributions. So keep that in mind when you see a lot of the other live streams on here and the guests that we bring on, that your own individual contributions through the Super Chat helps us keep that going as well. So Huskers beat Purdue 37-27. We talked to Greg after the game concerning that effort. Minnesota's coming up this week. The Gophers have had their issues on the COVID front. As long as the game's not canceled at this point, I guess, so we can't make too many assumptions as to whether it's teetering on the brink.
Yeah, we've made it to Thursday so far, so we're doing better than Ohio State and Michigan are, and Indiana as well. So, yeah, Minnesota, everybody knows they came into Lincoln last year and, put a beat down on Nebraska. Minnesota, a very physical football team, a little bit different looking team than they had on the field last year with, graduations and injuries and opting out and COVID issues that they've been dealing with. So, a little bit different looking Minnesota Gophers team that's coming in here, but it should still be a really good game. You expect Minnesota to grind it out on offense and pound the ball, pound the rock. That's what they do. Behind a very talented offensive line, and their running back Ibrahim, he's a tremendous talent. He's going to carry the ball 30 plus times a game. So Nebraska's got to be ready to stop that running attack and try to make Minnesota beat you through the air, make them one dimensional, and take away that big running game of theirs. So, big time game, big time spotlight for Nebraska, and time for that defense to step up and shine again. Build on that performance that they had last week at Purdue.
Yeah, as Greg mentions here, Minnesota, of course, coming off that 11-2 breakthrough campaign under P.J. Fleck, top 10 finish, a bowl win against Auburn last year, only lost the 2 games against Wisconsin and Iowa. Bring back a veteran quarterback in Tanner Morgan, who had one of the better TD to pick ratios in the country. All 5 offensive linemen came back. Now, it's my understanding that they lost a ton of depth behind those guys, but they did bring back all 5 starters. Tyler Johnson is doing some serious work as a wide receiver in the NFL this year as a rookie. He left, but Rashad Bateman came back. He had opted out when the season was initially shut down, but he came back and he's producing. Chris Ottman-Bell's an excellent wide receiver as well. And as Greg mentions, Mohammed Ibrahim was a 1,000-yard back 2 years ago, and they've had a pretty crowded backfield. They have 2 of their more prolific rushers leave the program this past off season, and Shannon Brooks and Rodney Smith, who were with the program like forever. They had injuries and redshirt seasons, and they just kind of kept going and going. And if you look at those guys' track record, like it takes us back to like 2014 with both of them, but they finally are out of the program. But Ibrahim is having another big season. I think most of their issues are on defense in replacing a ton of guys, including one of the best corners in the country, one of the best defensive backs in the country, Antoine Winfield. But Minnesota comes in having had some recent cancellation issues and taking on Nebraska. And the Huskers, of course, still have some hopes of finishing above 500 at 5-4 if they can get themselves to a bowl game with 2 wins to finish out the Big Ten slate. All right, Greg, we've got, of course, National Signing Day. We're only 6 days away. You've given us a big rundown the last several weeks on the latest, whether it be the latest or anything else on the recruiting front.
Well, Saturday, I know last week we talked about that there was a couple of Nebraska targets that were announcing last week, one on Friday, one on Saturday. And as I predicted right here, they came through with a commitment on Saturday from Roquan Buckley. He's a big 6'6", 290-pound defensive end out of Wyoming, Minnesota. And he adds that coveted pass rusher that everybody's looking for these days. Big, long body. Can get around that edge and get to the quarterback. So that was a big pickup for Nebraska. They addressed a position of need. They also lost a commitment Saturday as well that we'd actually talked about on this show as well. The young linebacker out of the Miami area, Peyton. And so that wasn't a big surprise. A lot of these Florida kids are kind of sticking around home with what's going on around the country these days with the COVID and everything. So Nebraska is still sitting at 19 commitments and, right about where they want to be, still with about a half a dozen spots left to fill. And, hoping to cash in here next week on signing day, next Wednesday. So, we'll see. And, like we've talked about before here, they target who they want early and they stay on these guys, and you don't generally come with a lot of surprises, but there might be a surprise or two that Nebraska gets in on some guys that people aren't necessarily thinking that might turn out Nebraska's way. But we can talk about that again next week.
Yeah, Roquan Buckley, looking at the Rivals rundown on him, 27th rated at his position, 14th in the state of Michigan as a 3-star. And again, the verbal commitment to Nebraska. Patrick Payton, he made his commitment to Florida State. Please leave your comments, your questions here in the live chat. We'll get to some of them right now. There's a question posted on the screen right now from Seth Sullivan asking about, of course, one Omar Manning.
Yeah, that's seems to be the biggest question out there. Still, we do not know if he'll be available or not on Saturday. He's been dealing with all kinds of injury issues and just hasn't been able to get reps in practice to warrant getting on the field and helping this ball team out. So, yeah, everybody does want to see what he can do. Haven't got to see hardly anything of him going back to week 1 against Ohio State. So that's been a big mystery. So hopefully we do see him dressed up and can help out on Saturday.
Yelly Belly is asking about Will McCaffrey. Of course, Adrian Martinez, the starter out of the gate. Will McCaffrey got his shot, provided a spark for a while, but then certainly Martinez has been the better passer. It hasn't been close. And Will McCaffrey back to a backup role. But Yelly Belly asking whether he would be more in line and switching to wide receiver or running back.
Well, he's not going to switch positions. He's going to be a quarterback. He's always going to be a quarterback at Nebraska. But that being said, you do have to get him on the field. Last week you saw it in the first series. Coach Frost put him out there, and I think that was just kind of to get Purdue's attention. But then you didn't see him come back in except for in a backup quarterback role when Adrian had to come out for a series. But in the long run, I think that it only makes sense that he's got to touch the ball in some type of capacity, whether it is at wide receiver or if it's running out of the backfield, because the guy's magical with the ball in his hands. There's no doubt about that. And you see when he comes in at quarterback that he kind of lifts the momentum. He lifts the speed of the game up. Opposing defenses all of a sudden say, "Whoa, he just ran right past me. That guy's fast." So you got to get him the ball. So I think for Nebraska to start scaring people and to try to play you honestly, when you got a playmaker like Wan'Dale Robinson in the slot or out of the backfield or out wide, and then you add another guy, McCaffrey's talents, just like it, out there at the same time, and then you got defenses on their heels and wondering where the ball's going to go and how they're going to stop it. So, in my opinion, you got to get him out there, but he's always going to be a quarterback. That's the position that he's chosen to move on with through his career. So, and he's a young quarterback. He's only played the position for a couple of years. So, right now with Adrian Martinez, obviously this is his team moving forward. And like I said, it'd be nice to get McCaffrey out on the field and contribute in other ways.
Searching a few of our latest live shows and also some videos I posted for some comments. Leave your comments, your questions in the live chat. I got to say that I've been impressed with Adrian Martinez. Not that he's been, slicing and dicing secondaries like Peyton Manning or anything, throwing the ball downfield, but certainly he's made the throws that have been asked of him and made the right decisions these last 2 weeks and being about as efficient as you could possibly be, barely missing a throw.
Yeah, and I think it has everything to do with confidence. Once he got benched for Luke McCaffrey, I think he took a long look at himself and said, "Hey, you know what? I'm good enough to do this, and it's time that I start to shine again." And it's all. I think he came out and he played well when he got the job back, and he's just been building on it since then. And you're right, his accuracy has been outstanding the last 2 weeks. He's not missing a beat, and some of those when they don't connect, he's throwing those balls away instead of throwing it out there up for grabs for anybody to get a hold of. So yes, his play has been a big reason in Nebraska's turnaround, and it helps the entire team's confidence. And you've seen the defense step up because they know the offense isn't letting them hang out there to dry like they have a lot of the times here in the last 2 seasons. So I credit Adrian a lot for stepping up and being a man, and he's always been such a high character guy. I mean, from day one when he showed up on campus here, he was just such an impressive young man, wise beyond his years. So, Nebraska is in good hands with Adrian Martinez back at quarterback.
Talk Nebraska football here each and every Thursday night, 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Central. We got Greg Peterson, of course, here every week from Husker Online on the Rivals platform for Nebraska. Seth Sullivan is basically saying Frost said Savion Morrison is available this week. Do you think he can play a bigger role in the backfield in his first game?
Yeah, when Coach Frost was asked that, I was pleasantly surprised when he said that Savion is available because we haven't had a chance to see him in a Huskers uniform yet. As far as playing a big role in the backfield in his first game, I don't think so, because that's not the way Coach Held kind of coaches his room there. You've got to be able to put the time in and get the reps in practice before you're going to get the go-ahead in the game. Now, that being said, we don't get to see practice this year, and we haven't heard from Coach Held for a couple of weeks. So, you got to kind of rely on what the head man tells you about that. So, being available to play is different than, being penciled in there to, have a couple of series here and there. But I think that if they have the chance, they're going to give him a taste and see what he can do with the ball in his hands, because, they recruited him for a reason. He was an electrifying high school player, broke all kinds of records down in Oklahoma City. And, I went down and saw him in person in the playoffs, and, he didn't disappoint then. And, I can't wait to see him actually get some meaningful snaps.
Got a couple of viewers here who would love to see Cam Taylor-Britt come back. Of course, Yelly Belly and Seth Sullivan. And you work with the recruiting portion of this, and just following college football as closely as you do, you know what the deal is at a program with the talent that Nebraska has, and those handful of decisions that have to be made by juniors as to whether they're coming back or going to the NFL. But then we need to multiply that about 10 times. I'm just throwing out a number, but a number of times to account for all these seniors that have the opportunity to come back or can move on, whether they just want to move on with life or have a legitimate shot at the NFL. That is going to make these roster, the forecasting of these rosters, Greg, for 2021 is going to be, it's going to be huge to determine, for some teams, I'm sure their coach is going to be a bit fortunate that most of these guys are going to come back, and other are going to have mass exodus, or just basically the seniors are going to move on. But that's a huge wild card in what the roster is going to look like next year.
Yeah, you just don't know right now. It's basically a free year for everybody, so ball's in their court, and then you have guys thinking about the transfer portal as well, with that being out there. So, guys like Cam Taylor-Britt, anytime you ask me when guys are going to come out, most of the time I'm going to tell you they should stay in school and play another year. But, when money's talking, and it depends on their family situation, their financial situation, you can't fault a guy for leaving early and going chasing, his dream of playing in the NFL. A guy like Cam Taylor-Britt, you've seen the way he's been playing. I mean, he just improves week by week, and he's a heck of a football player. And I definitely think he's going to be out there playing on Sundays. And he just loves the game of football. You can definitely tell. And he loves Nebraska. He loves being a Cornhusker. So if I was a betting man, I'd think he's back. I think he comes back again. And because I think he wants to be one of these guys, one of these leaders, one of the guys responsible for turning this program around and getting it back to where it's supposed to be. And, I think he carries a chip on his shoulder because, they haven't done a lot of winning since he's been here. And that goes with all the seniors on this roster. None of these seniors have even been to a bowl game, which is unheard of when you're playing when you're talking about Nebraska football. So, if they are fortunate enough to make a bowl game this year, that's going to be a factor in some of these guys. I mean, like a guy like Brandon Hymas, he doesn't have any reason to come back for another year. He's ready to go to the NFL right now. But there's guys like maybe like a DiCaprio Boodle who wants to come back again and get a shot to up his stock too. So, it's just right now it's just hard to say, and you got to let the season finish out and kind of see where they're going. If Nebraska, if they beat Minnesota here and they win their crossover game, you're talking about a team that's won 3 games in a row and, is hungry for a bowl game. So, if some of these guys get a taste of a bowl game, I've been on many of these bowl trips with the team and stuff, and there's no replacing it. I mean, those are memories that these guys have for the rest of their lives, and they have the time of their lives when they go on these trips. So, that's going to play a factor in it too. Do you see this team progressing and making a bowl game and playing for a conference championship possibly next year? All those factors are gonna play into this. So we just won't know.
George, we appreciate you letting everyone know that they need to hit the like button. So they certainly do need to do that. Just smash that like button, help build the channel. Dennis Wilson, why are all these Dade County kids Nebraska recruited transferring? We talked about that last week, didn't we?
Oh yeah.
So we've gotten to a lot of these questions, but we're hearing online here from John Small, and he's got a paragraph that I want to edit as I go because I'm not going to read all this, but it's basically saying that Bo Pelini was on the verge of a national contender, and then he goes through Mike Riley's tenure, basically that if I can summarize all of it, that basically letting Bo Pelini go was a mistake, and they've been trying to catch up ever since in changing styles of offenses, in recruiting, and different areas in which they recruit, and building ties, and then having those certain connections break down because the next coach had a different style of recruiting or went to different areas of the country. Basically, that it's hurt the program, going from Pelini to Riley and now Frost.
Oh, absolutely. It's put the program back into the Stone Age. Like you said, Nebraska track record of firing 2 coaches that win 9 games a year in Frank Solich and then Bo Pelini, and kind of puts that moniker out there that winning 9 games is not good enough for Nebraska, and it's in the fan base. It's not. You can't win national titles every year, but Bo Pelini kind of stagnated at a certain point, and Bo's biggest enemy was himself, and that's the reason Nebraska fired Bo, only because of he just was embarrassing the university just too many times. So, and unfortunately, that was the situation, and because Bo Pelini was a good football coach. He's a good defensive football coach, and he won a lot of games here. And his players loved him. To this day, there's not a single player that didn't play for Bo Pelini that wouldn't run through a wall for that guy. So, there was a lot of good things that Bo brought to this program, and there was a lot of negatives that he brought to this program. The biggest mistake was hiring Mike Riley. Mike Riley just had a different philosophy, a different cultural look, just not a fit for a program like Nebraska. It just gutted the program by the changes that they made, and it was fun for a while because the coaching staff was a bunch of great, nice guys that you like to hang out with and stuff, but maybe they were a little bit too nice. Their recruiting style, they recruited high caliber athletes, high ranked kids, and had a lot of ties to the West Coast, a lot of California ties, and just saw that culture just didn't work out here. So, Coach Frost came in here with a way bigger rebuilding job than anybody ever even imagined, and you're seeing that now when Nebraska struggles to win 3 or 4 games a year because there's no talent and there's no depth on the roster, and you see that slowly building back. And after Coach Frost and his staff gets a few more classes under their belts, and you build that depth and you build that athletic base that you're looking for, things are going to change. We talked a little bit about the defensive end commit. If you look at all these linemen, offensive and defensive linemen right now that are committed in this class, you got 2 defensive ends, one's 6'6" and one's 6'9", and they can both run and they can both rush the passer. And then you got 3 offensive linemen, 6'8", 6'7", 6'6", all these guys, 300 pounds, 350 pounds. So you see what kind of guys that they're bringing in. You see what kind of guys that they've targeted on how to win football games. And they know what they're doing. It just takes time to get all these bodies in here so you can compete at a high level like Ohio State and like a Penn State and a Wisconsin and an Iowa. And, that takes time, and they're getting there slowly but surely.
A lot of people now bringing up some of their favorite players in terms of whether they're going to move on. JoJo Doman comes up by Real Talk, and Seth Sullivan, whether he's NFL ready. And my thought about Mike Riley as well. They certainly went from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum, from Bo Pelini to Mike Riley, in regards to, just being an engaging person. And not that Bo Pelini's a bad guy. He's just a ornery kind of guy. Mike Riley's pretty much the exact opposite for a football coach, certainly.
And hey, we were spoiled under Mike Riley as the Nebraska media corps.
Yeah.
As Mike Riley gave us complete access. I mean, we could watch practice all day long, and we could do anything we wanted to. So, everything was under a microscope under Mike Riley because everything was out in the open. And then, totally opposite of what Bo Pelini was like, and totally opposite of what Coach Frost is like. So, a lot of differences there.
And also Mike Riley, with his philosophy of how to run an offense, wanted to bring that West Coast offense to Nebraska, short passing game, and really didn't have the quarterback in Tommy Armstrong to do it. And certainly, I believe the administration understood that and knew that it would take him some time to get that quarterback in play that he wanted to run that type of offense. And I'm trying to think, who was the quarterback? His last season would have been 2017, right? Mike Riley?
Zach Lee.
Zach Lee. Yeah.
Or not Zach Lee, Tanner Lee. Yeah. You got to give Coach Riley some credit, though, because he changed for Tommy Frazier. He changed his philosophy to fit more of what Tommy Frazier was good at. And Tommy Frazier. Tommy Armstrong was good at.
I would love to have Tommy Frazier. He probably would have changed his offense for Tommy Frazier.
Yeah. There's your South Florida guys right there. He changed for Tommy Armstrong, and he saw some success with that. But then, gets more of his pro style passer in there, and it just not working. Not in this state, not what this fan base is used to. And, the defensive philosophy didn't help either. The hiring Bob Diaco was just a disaster. And it was just unfortunate the way things are, because Mike Riley is just a great guy. I mean, I would hang out with him anytime. If he called me up right now, I'd be over at his house in 15 minutes.
Yeah, good stuff. And he certainly, it's not like nice guys can't be successful. He had 2 successful stints at Oregon State. In between, went to the NFL, got an NFL head coaching job. That doesn't come along to too many people with San Diego. And but just didn't work out that stint with Nebraska.
Turned down USC.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yep.
Was that who knows? There's been so many switches there. Was that Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian? Do you remember which time?
It was before that. Yeah. Because he was Keyshawn Johnson's position coach. So I think we're going back to John Robinson days. So.
Or it might have been when they hired Pete Carroll in 2000.
Yeah, it was even before Pete Carroll. So. Or no, it was Pete Carroll. It was they hired Pete Carroll. He turned him down, and they hired Pete Carroll. So, yeah.
And if anybody looks up Oregon State football, which, of course, has done nothing but lose, Jonathan Smith's starting to do a nice job there now, starting to. But, they've been awful for years. But Mike Riley, from about 99 to 09, had about a 10 or 11-year run there where he was going 9-4, 8-5 just about every year there with Oregon State. All right, Cam Jurgens, obviously the spotlight was on him, because if somebody snaps the football and they don't do it well, then every eye in the stadium and on TV goes to that particular player. He had his issues against Iowa, of course. Chiefs Kingdom asking, what do you think about Cam Jurgens? Some snaps, yes. Can he turn it around?
Absolutely. And I think that was one of the biggest takeaways for me last week was that you didn't notice those bad snaps during the game. He had a couple of high ones, but for the most part, nothing that disrupted anything really last week. So Cam has shown that he goes through those rough patches, and he gets some one-on-one time with Coach Austin, and Coach Austin straightens him out, and you see him playing well again. And to me, I think it's just something in his head that I think he's trying to process too much, trying to think about who he's got to pick up on that particular play. So like we've said several times, that he's only played this position for a couple of years. I mean, he's a tight end turned offensive center, and I agree with Coach Frost. He'll play on Sundays as a center in the NFL. He's got that kind of talent, and he's a very smart kid, and he knows the game of football very well, and he loves to play the game of football. So I don't see him having any of these problems. Hopefully they don't resurface, but if they do, I think it's a quick fix that I think he's been able to show that.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We talk Nebraska. We would do it with Greg Peterson. You can join him at Husker Online. Joins us every week on this Thursday Night Nebraska show. We will keep this going based on your contributions and also possible sponsorship. So we've got one right now with Phone Genie, and you got to check out, considering, do I need to tell you, COVID issues, and they're getting worse, unfortunately, across the country in different areas in particular. And these fine folks at Phone Genie, and we'll get the banner up in just a second, they develop products to fight germ issues, germ mitigation products, both for your home use or business use at the office or workspace. And they develop those products, and they're top of the line. So check them out. They're at Phone Genie. And your website is Tolley Brothers LLC. And again, I'll put the banner up here in just a second, TolleyBrothersLLC.com. 2 games left for the Huskers. Hopefully, we've got Minnesota coming up this week, a team that downed Nebraska last year, Big Ten Western Division foe. And then the kind of fun portion of the season, in my eyes, at least when they built the schedule, was that'll be interesting to see who everybody gets matched up with the final weekend of the season, as they will, of course, pair off the number 1 seeds for the Big Ten championship game, which is a bit controversial in that Indiana met the 6-game requirement, but Ohio State had the better record and the head-to-head win against Indiana. So the Big Ten powers that be changed the rules and says Ohio State's going to the Big Ten championship game to take on Northwestern. Now, for the good of the Big Ten, hopefully the Northwestern is able to hold off Illinois and show up at the Big Ten championship with a 6-1 record and not stub its toe. It would have been nice to have an all undefeated Big Ten championship game if Northwestern, Greg, wouldn't have gone to Michigan State and slipped up there.
Well, yeah, then you think about last week, too, with Wisconsin and Indiana. If Wisconsin wins that game, then you got Wisconsin still vying for that Western division. So, we're lucky if we get games in right now. So it's just you got to keep your fingers crossed. So, when the crossover comes next week, it's going to be interesting to see just who gets matched up with who and who's actually available to play. But, Ohio State, they beat Indiana head-to-head, so I have no problem with what the Big Ten ruled. And, the Big Ten, they've made such a mess out of this since day one that, how can you basically keep the best team in your league from playing for a championship when they are undefeated? So yeah, that rule was kind of silly to start with, and you got to finally give the Big Ten a little bit of props for being able to go out there and actually change their mind and maybe swallow a little bit of pride. But yeah, we're just glad that we get a game on Saturday, and if it's snowing, it's snowing. It's just kind of rare that we're talking about mid-December, and at least for the last couple of years, that we still have Nebraska football going on.
Yeah, it is crazy that here we are mid-December, and it's going to be smack dab in the middle of National Signing Day. That's going to be a few days right before that championship weekend, in which hopefully everybody in the Big Ten gets to play. But I'm with you in regards to, and I can understand Indiana folks, Indiana fans being upset because they played the minimum number of games, and technically they would be the team that would go. But again, I don't know if the Big Ten set down that rule and didn't give it another thought. I can't imagine that they didn't foresee a situation in which they could have a team that was like 3-0, and then maybe two other teams that would be disqualified and have to have like the fourth place team in the division go to the title game, and they're like 3-4, and have them go to the, like, that they didn't think that, or that they just thought, you know what, we're going to put in this standard rule, and most likely it's not going to come up. We won't have to address it, but if it does, we will. Because again, I think it makes total sense to start with that rule. Okay, you need to have a minimum number of games played, unless A, B, C, D, because
it happened. Yeah,
because it happened, and you've got Ohio State at 5-0. You're supposed to play 6 games, but the funny thing is that they could basically say, you know what, give us the 6th game, forfeit it, and we still have the same record. 6-1, 5-1 is Indiana, and we beat them head to head. So the decision makes sense, but it unfortunately had to come to that.
And everybody knows that it's a decision about money too, because that brings in money to the conference, and everybody gets a piece of that pie. So obviously, you want your best team to be eligible to make it to the college football playoffs. So we understand.
Do you have any thoughts about this whole playoff situation in regards to just in general? Do you agree with the 14 playoff any season, or would you like to see it expanded? And then as it plays into 2020, because of all the discrepancy in how many games are being played and no non-conference games to speak of, whether it should have been expanded this year?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always one for more the merrier anyway. I would like to see every year, I'd like to see that field expanded to, I'd like 8. I like 8.
I'm with 8. Yep. I'm a big 8 proponent. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, you talk about kids not being able to play that many games. That's hogwash. I mean, these kids will play as many games as you allow them to play. That's what they do. That's why they're here. So expand that thing to 8. Keep it like that. Give some more teams a chance. Let some of these little guys, like a Coastal Carolina this year, see what they could do. If they had to go play Clemson on a neutral field or something. So I'm all for that. This year is just. It's such a mess. We don't know. You can plan something like this, but you don't know if you can get it off. It's just with what's going on. This year's definitely going to have an asterisk by it anyway. If you go out there and claim the national championship, and all you did was play your own conference, it's kind of a strange national title, if you ask me. So it is what it is this year, and just be thankful that we actually still have college football that we can watch on Saturdays right now.
I do think that if the college football playoff, and it looks like it's going to look very standard, Clemson, Notre Dame, Alabama, Ohio State, that will give it more credibility. Whether it should or not, I don't know, but people's look at it will be more like, okay, well, it pretty much looks like it probably would have after 12 games. So it seems legitimate, as opposed to if you would have had Iowa State and or just some teams that aren't necessarily considered to be the elite kind of sneak in there through some loopholes and get in because some other teams couldn't play enough games, kind of thing. Then that would have looked a bit odd to people. But it looks like it's going to be a pretty standard powerhouse college football playoff.
I mean, wouldn't you like to see like a Cincinnati get in there?
Yes,
that'd be cool. If you ask me, Cincinnati against Notre Dame in one of those semifinals.
Greg, my thought process is that you got 5 conferences. How do you have 4 spots?
Right.
And I know that people have perception about the Pac-12 and then sometimes it's the ACC or the Big 12 or wherever not being as good. I understand that, but they just don't play enough non-conference games for that to be proven. And big deal, the Pac-12 showing up at the playoff twice. They made it to the championship once. And the other game, they didn't get blown out, Washington against Alabama in 2016. So it's not like they've been some kind of an embarrassment. I just think every conference should be represented. And then also either do something with a group of 5. Don't try to placate them and make them feel good by ranking them 7th and 12th and 23rd.
And never have a chance.
And never have a real chance. You're almost insulting them by ranking them. Like UCF is an undefeated team, number 8 in the country. That's almost an insult to say, you know what, either include them or don't include them and say, go play your own playoff and be real with them.
Well, I mean, look at a team like North Dakota State. They dominate playoffs, and, if you're going to have a Power 5, okay, have your Power 5 play for their championship and then, do your group of 5 and then your Division 2. So, whatever. Just let more teams in.
Nebraska Real Talk is asking for your thoughts about Turner Corcoran.
Oh, love Turner Corcoran. He's a big road grader. Can't wait to see him get a chance next year after, if some of those seniors leave. You never know. You got to sit around another year. But, no, Turner, I've loved him since the first time I saw him play when he was a senior in high school. Went down to Kansas City area and watched his Lawrence Free State team just dominate a playoff game, and he was a big reason why. And he was also All-American and played in the All-American game last year too. So he's a big guy. He's got some great technique, and right now he's in that strength and conditioning program and getting stronger and getting bigger, getting meaner, and he's a guy that likes to plant his opponent on his behind.
Talk about another top-notch player here, of course, with Thomas Fedone, the number 1 rated tight end, according to Rivals, and Chiefs Kingdoms asking for some analysis and breakdown on Fedone.
It is Fedone.
Is it Fedone? I was wrestling that in my mind. Didn't know which way to go on that. Fedone, Thomas Fedone.
Yep, Thomas Fedone. No, great athlete. Got just soft hands. He catches about anything that comes his way, and the guy's a matchup nightmare. His team, his high school team, they're Lewis Central out of Council Bluffs. They've been fortunate. Max Duggan, who starts at TCU, was their quarterback, and they've been 4 or 5 years in a row. They're putting guys in D1 spots, and they're doing really well wherever they land. So and Fedone's another one of those guys, and he's another one of these high character guys. Super smart. He's an early enrollee, which is a lot of the commits in this class. At least half of them are all early enrollees. So that tells you a little bit about what they've got going on upstairs. And Fedone's one of those guys that he's going to stretch the field for you. It's kind of funny because in high school they used him outside most of the time, and you got a 5'11" corner out there on him. He's 6'6", and it's such a matchup nightmare. It's hilarious to watch sometimes. It looks like he's playing against a midget football team sometimes, and it's funny too because every time when he'll come inside and put his hand down in the dirt, look out because he's going straight down the field and they're throwing to him, and usually it's a 60 or 70-yard touchdown. So he's a good-looking kid, and he's the highest ranked recruit that Nebraska has been able to land since Baker Steinkuhler came out of Lincoln Southwest High School here. So good things coming out of Thomas Fedone, And that tight end room with 3 in-state tight end commits in this class, Nebraska's set for quite a while at the tight end position.
All right, we're just about set to wrap it up. We'll wrap up some loose ends, though. James and Ballard, thank you for saying hi. Appreciate that. Recite to Muslim. He had an interesting, what did he have to say here? Now I missed it. Shoot. But I'll get back to that in just a sec. There it is. It's when was the last time? When was the last time? So I always, Greg, have to poke a little fun at these kind of questions. If you've got the internet and you've got Google, you don't need to ask us the last time Nebraska beat Iowa, because that's a Google question. Yeah. That's the Google kind of, I think it was 2014 off the top of my head. I think it's 5 straight.
It's been 5 straight.
Yeah, 2014. But you can Google those kind of questions. Anyway, and last, I don't know who raised this topic, but I'll give my 2 cents before I'll cut Greg loose. Somebody asked here, and I'll find it. How long is it going to be before Nebraska is a national championship contender? My thought would be Wisconsin is the best program in the conference, in the division. They are the standard in the division. I know that they're not going to win the division this year, but they've been the standard. Let that be your goal, your objective. Nebraska could certainly, based on tradition, name brand, recruiting footprint, facilities, money, be able to do at least as well as Wisconsin. So that should be the first program you're looking to take down.
No, you said that perfectly. Yeah, you got to take baby steps at this point from the depths that your program had dropped to, and you're still a blue blood. You're still a college football blue blood, but a lot of the younger generation doesn't remember that anymore. So to be a national championship contender, that's almost going to be impossible to predict. The game has changed completely since the mid-'90s when you saw Nebraska just rolling over everybody, and the game has caught up. The facilities battle, the facilities race, the arms race has caught up. So parity, so many more good programs out there than there used to be. You still see it top heavy with those certain programs that are always up there, but you got so many other up and coming programs that give other programs fits. So now I lost track of the question. What was your question?
Basically, when is Nebraska going to contend for a national championship?
Yeah. No, and like you said, you got to win your division first, and I think that's always clearly the goal. The goal when you start a season, you're always going to talk about your ultimate goal is a national championship. But the way this program is right now, making a bowl game this year is a step in the right direction. And then you can start thinking about maybe contending for the West and beating Wisconsin and beating Iowa year in and year out, like you're supposed to be, like people think you're supposed to be, like you were supposed to be when you joined the Big Ten. And then, if you start winning some of those conference or some of those divisional titles and you start playing Ohio State, you start instead of losing by 30 points to Ohio State, maybe you're beating them by 3 or you're losing by 3. Then you can start thinking about maybe a national championship. Once you can compete with an Ohio State in a year in and year out basis, then you're looking at maybe being back to those glory days.
We've got 88 on the line. We appreciate everybody jumping on here. We've typically been in the 50 or 60 range, so we appreciate everybody who's made it here. Let people out there on social media know that we're here every Thursday night talking Nebraska football live with you. We take your comments, your questions, and we interact with Greg Peterson right here on Husker Online from Rivals. So he is a deep knowledge base when it comes to especially recruiting, but Nebraska football overall. And so bring some folks on here and understand that we will keep this going based on your individual contributions and also based on sponsorships. That we have one from Phone Genie right here for germ mitigation products, both home and in the workplace. Phone Genie at ToleyBrothersLLC.com. Please check out the website. And again, all you have to do is understand the situation in the country, but germ mitigation products are key to staying safe. Greg, we appreciate you stopping by, being here for us each and every week. We hope that people out there start to appreciate what's going on here, that we would love to deliver this throughout the off season, all the time. Nebraska Talk live here every Thursday night.
Absolutely. And tune in on Saturday. It might be kind of fun to watch. They're talking about freezing rain and snow coming down. So it might be one of those fun snow games.
And everybody, if you're on the front page of my YouTube channel, just keep it right here. We're turning it around in 2 minutes with Miami live show at 7 o'clock Eastern time. So just keep it right here. Thanks, Greg. We will see you next week.
No problem. Go you.